Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube channel video. You're here with your channel host GBHL James, bringing you this Sunday's episode of Speak, Friend and Question. This is the first Speak, Friend and Question since we've been back from the USA. As you can see, I'm on my own today. Unfortunately, Jamie's been doing quite a bit of work with Steamforge this week. Looks like they've been doing quite a bit of play testing for the new series of Guild Ball, which is very exciting for all of you Guild Ball fans out there. It does mean that I'm doing this on my own, and I thought I'd do a different kind of format today. Normally when I'm doing the washing up, I watch the planting, but of course because we've been away there has been no planting. It's a shame. I was really looking forward to it. If we could have got it in, I was really looking forward to being in the planting for the first time ever, because I've never been in one yet, so that will have to wait another day. But what I'm going to try and do, it's Sunday, I'm actually filming this Sunday morning, so I'm going to do the washing up, so you have to excuse all of the crashing and bashing and the pauses as well while I dry my hands to scroll through the questions. Means I can obviously get some stuff done while answering your questions. So I hope you've enjoyed all the content for while we were away in America. We had the best geek time you could possibly have, and you know, I think I've already said it in the Facebook groups and we've all said it in our various videos, but we'd just like to give a massive thank you to the guys out there for making it what it was for us. You know, they were absolutely tremendous hosts, and for making it possible and making the decision easy to go over there. Just thank you absolutely loads, and I'm looking forward to catching up with those guys again. Looks like they're all going to be coming over next October. Okay, so hopefully I'll have some special announcements for that for next year. Okay, so let's crack on with the washing up, and let's start off with the first question. So first up we've got "Cause I Like To," who's put 3 exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, O face. I don't know what that means, "Cause I like to." So we'll go straight on to Modelling Master. He's like, "Hi guys, been out of the loop for ages, sorry. However, here is a list." Sorry Jamie if you get this. Guys, you don't need to apologise for putting lists in there. Remember, it's all just tongue-in-cheek about Jamie not liking reading that list. Well, I say that, he probably doesn't like reading them out as much, but remember, we're here to help you. You know, we're here to offer opinions and to keep you in the hobby loop, and you know, whatever you want to ask it. Never feel bad about asking a question to us guys. So you put an Uruk-hai Shaman with 11 Orc Spears, 1 Orc. You put the Shadow Lord with 12 Blackguard, Dark Marshal, and then you put 5 Blackguard, 5 Orc Spears with a Shade, 700 points. 5 Might, but Machine of Death. I probably won't take this because it is evil, but I did take Gundabad to Filth, so anything could happen now. Cheers from Ian. This is Ian Spiller. Normally a bringer of nice fluffy armies, I have to say. Okay, so you've got the Uruk-hai Shaman there, who's of course going to give the Fury to the Blackguard, who are counted as Uruk-hai, so that's reasonably strong. You've got a Spearback rank, so you've got 2 dice in your fights. I don't think there's any. Oh, and you've also got the Dark Marshal as well, so you've effectively got your banner reroll in there, and with the Shade in there as well, which is of course going to negate your opponent's high fight value if they've got a high fight value. That looks pretty strong. It's reasonably low numbers for 700 points. I fought up against something a little bit similar when I was in Nova. It was the first opponent I played in the Grand Tournament, called Joel. Very nice guy. I have to say, it was to the death, and because he had no magic and no shooting, he was always going to be up against it. But he had the Blackguard of Barad-dûr, which were always going to sort of destroy me in combat really. He had the Blackguard of Barad-dûr, he had a Shade in the middle as well, he had a Drummer, so that would mean that he could keep up with me, and he had a couple of banners as well, which could have been tough into the death, but it just couldn't deal with Gandalf. Gandalf was a beast, and of course the shooting and the moving meant that I was able to get all of my army just onto his right flank, wipe out his right flank, open up the door, come back round, pick off the things that I needed to get. I think that it's probably a little bit too low numbers. Hero wise, you're quite light. Yeah, you've got 2 spellcasters in the Dark Marshal and the Shadow Lord, but really the Dark Marshal's more of a combat wraith, isn't he? So you're not really getting a huge benefit from that. As with most lists, I would say try it out, let us know how you get on. I'm sure I'm sure you, Ian, won't have fun playing with that, knowing you, but you never know. Are you going to bring that to Stockport? Of course, it's Redesolation of Stockport in a couple of weeks. I'm really pleased to announce that we have sold over 50 tickets now, which is brilliant. So we're getting close to being a record breaker. Inspired by the Nova Open. I've never been to a convention before like that. So remember the Nova Open, it wasn't all about Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings tournament part of it was a relatively small part of a bigger convention. I've never been to a convention, and it blew my mind, but it also gave me some great ideas for tournaments. And one thing that I thought was really cool was their little swag bags. So I did say the other day that anybody coming to the Redesolation Stockport, the first 48, because of how you have to buy things in bulk, would get a swag bag. And now that we've exceeded that, if we can get, because I think have we sold 53, 54 tickets? So we can sell another 18, and then I know that there's a definite another 8 or 9 on the list. If we can sell another of that, then everybody will get a swag bag, because of how it works out, sort of buying wise and numbers wise and the maths. So yeah, really looking forward to Redesolation Stockport now. That is of course next up on my list of hobby stuff. Okay, so next up we've got Mason O'Neill. He's put, hey guys, great to see 3 hosts together. Yes, of course, you were referring to the fact that we had Thomas Harrison in last week's Speak Friend Question, which is of course very lovely Thomas Harrison. Another good opportunity for me to congratulate Tom for coming first with Damien in the doubles at the Nova Open, and of course for winning the actual grand tournament. Only dropping 1 victory point was pretty spectacular. So well done there, Mr. Harrison. We're very proud of you. And hopefully you'll come and compete a little bit at the Redesolation, because there's some good prizes. I have ordered the Wetter Ring Wraiths models that are about this big to be the top part of my trophies. And remember, there will be 4 of those available for the person who wins day 1 and for each of the group winners on day 2. So remember, day 1 sorts you into groups, and day 2 you try and win your particular group. So anyway, Mason, you put, my question this week is, at Nova, who do you think will rank the highest of you 4 representing the GBHL podcast? Sorry if this offends any of you, but I think it will go first Damien, second Tom, third Jamie, fourth James. Well, I saw this on the Palante, and I saw so many of you doubted me. Unbelievable. So I think it will go Tom Harrison, this is in the grand tournament, Damien O'Byrne, then me, and then Jamie. That's what I think it will be. I'm willing to put money on that as well, if anybody wants to take that bet. So yeah, I saw that a lot of you doubted me. I don't blame you, to be honest, because I've not really played much this year. And if you look at form, as it were, but then again, the ones that I have attended this year, I mean, I haven't attended many this year, but I did go to Huddersfield and come 5th. At Longbottom Carnival, I came 4th, just. I won at doubles, which is 1st. And I did actually come 3rd at Nova, so my form's not bad. It's not bad, actually. But if I'd have been picking, I would have done exactly the same. I probably would have said Damien. I'd probably said Damien, Jamie, and then Tom. I'm not too sure. If you look at the results at Nova, at Longbottom, just before we went, 7 points. You know, I actually came top of the GBHL hosts, and then it was Damien, and then it was Jamie, and then it was Tom. I can't remember. So it just shows. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but winning a tournament is very much about luck as much as anything, because you've got to be playing against the right army at the right time. You know, and that obviously was the case for me on the whole at Longbottom. On the whole, although to beat Camille Demansky's Goblin Town at Reconnoiter in the final game was a heroic effort. A few more turns and he would have trounced me, I think. Very, very tough army for my army to beat at that. So yeah, you've got to be playing against the right armies at the right time. So for example, I know that Jamie was getting a bit of stick for coming in 5th, but you know, he played the wrong armies at the wrong time. He played against horde-based armies at the ones where you need numbers. You could say the same for me, really. I played against the Gondor horde at the high ground. You know, 58 defense 6 and defense 7 models. It was just really tough to get off the hill. I nearly did it. So it does go to show that it is about who you play and when. So no, I'm not offended by any of you on the Palante who said that I would come fourth. I probably would have done exactly the same. But I'm pleased to announce that despite all of my antics at Nova, staying out all night, getting completely slaughtered and setting a great example to, or not a great example to our younger subscribers, although I did have a fabulous time, I did do okay. So you put, also I've been a subscriber to this channel since the very beginning. Yes, you have, Mason, and I still get James and Jamie mixed up for like 1 second. And the way I always remember is from the very early Speak Friend and Question episode where James said Jamie is a girl's name. Jamie is a girl's name, especially considering we've just come back from America where they all agree with me. In America, Jamie is a girl's name, and of course America's got a bigger population in the UK, so you know it must be true. You put, this is still the only way I remember who is who without thinking about it. I don't know why. Yeah, it's interesting when you just remember little snippets of things, you know, from a long time ago, which sort of trigger your memory. So next up, we've got a question from Devin. Now, this is GBHL Devin, who was a spectacular host. Fair play to him, he was absolutely exhausted. I don't think he's run a tournament before, so I think those guys, they learnt a lot from it in terms of the actual tournament mechanics itself, but in terms of being hosts and you know what they really wanted to achieve, and so, I mean, some of the events they did were great. We did this game called Chaos in Arda, where you had like these 40k objective cards. I'm sure you'll have seen from the journey vlogs. But it worked great. If you just tweak some of those objectives a little bit, then that made for a very, very fun game. So I would expect at some point for me, Jamie, Damien or Tom to have that as a fun part of some event. I really, really would. It was phenomenal fun. Really enjoyed it. So they did a really good job, and fair play to Devin. You know, like he even came out with me on the Saturday night after a very, very long day, and then had to be up, and of course had to sleep in my hotel room, or mine and Jamie's hotel room, in my bed. He fell asleep while me, Clint Whitney, and Shannon, his fiance, went into McDonald's at 5:30 in the morning. You know, so it was a heroic effort from him just to try and keep us happy. You know, and who else? They were all great. All of the Americans there were really, really good, really welcoming. So Devin has put, hey guys, I have a quick correction on saying Frodo doesn't count as a banner. He is the only character whom is actually counted as one for to the death, etc. His rules are different from every other character in that it says he counts as a banner, and it even makes a small mention about him not being picked up and carried like other banners. However, every other character in the game, Amber, Imrahil, state that models treat them as a banner. So Frodo is actually essential in the Shire list for this reason. Now I did actually get back to Devin about this because, of course, I wanted to clear it up before we went to his tournament just in case it came up. But I'm pretty sure that in the Games Workshop FAQ that it says that all characters that count as a banner do not count as a banner for the purposes of to the death in the scenario to the death. So unfortunately, it seems like you're incorrect on that occasion. One thing that I would say, just as a little bit of a note to everybody out there, and it's something that we've learned over the last couple of years with the Great British Hobbit League and all of the tournaments that that are happening every sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks. As a result of these tournaments, lots and lots of things have come up, which even players of the game of years, have never come across before, because you're just getting, more exposure of the game, and therefore when there's more exposure, it means it's under more scrutiny, things come up. And originally, of course, everybody very much sort of coming at it from the rules as written angle on most things, because you've kind of got to with a war game. But what we've learned, especially from being in communication with the rules writers, the people who do the Games Workshop FAQ, is that, remember, these rules, they're not written by lawyers, they're written by people who are just trying to create a fun platform for people to play with the toy soldiers. And Games Workshop explicitly states that they're mainly a model making company, not a game creating company, which is an interesting point of view. And what we tend to find is that a lot of these things, when it comes down to, well, it's worded like this, and what does this word mean, and what, it's all a load of nonsense. I wouldn't read too much into the specific wordings and what certain words mean when it comes to rules as written. And what we found when we've spoken to the games is that a lot of the time it is rules of intended. You know, like the big example was the Legolas one. The rules as written for me. If you looked at the rules as written, because of the way that you target a model and look at in the ways and things, that rules as written, it looked like Legolas would still have to determine horse or rider, because he had to target the model, and then once he targeted the model, you had to determine the in the way. But of course, what was the answer that came back? Of course Legolas can pick to hit the horse, because he's Legolas. I mean, that says it all about the way that Games Workshop approach these games. So don't get too hung up on the wording, guys, and specific words when you're looking at the rules, especially when trying to sort of, if you think that you found loopholes and stuff like that, that's not really sort of the way the game is. So characters do not count as banners for to the death, and it specifically states that in the Games Workshop FAQ, so I hope that helped Devin. Okay, so next up we have got Akathon 39. This is Ryan Ratsford. He's coming into the Redesolation of Stockport 2015 in a couple of weeks. He's like, you guys seem to go to Damien's house, then not have him in the videos. The Fellowship campaign is another example. Poor Damien. Well, a lot of the reason for this is that when that's happened in the past, it's because Damien's had the various sort of functions on. He's either been working and just allowed the guys to be at the house filming while he's out working, or you know, he's been at some kind of event. So the reason, for example, that we filmed a Speak Friend and Question without him is because he was at a barbecue. I think he was at a barbecue. So it was a shame to miss out with him being in Speak Friend and Question, because I'm sure that would have been lols. But that's why sometimes you'll see filming at his house without him in it. So you've got some questions here. You put, is Kamal worth it in combat form if you don't want to be cheesy and put him on a horse? Will he still cause enough wounds and make his points back? In combat form? What do you mean? Is Kamal worth it in a combat form if you don't want to be cheesy and put him on a horse? I don't think putting Kamal on a horse is cheesy. You know, the closest thing you could say is cheesy is maybe putting him on a ring wraith. Is that what you mean? Sorry, not on a ring wraith, on a fell beast. If you put him on a fell beast, then you could argue that because fell beasts are pretty cheap, that would be cheesy. But I wouldn't say so. What do you mean? If you mean on foot, is it worth having him on foot? The advice is the same. Any hero on foot is going to have less as an impact on a game than a hero mounted. I mean, the best example of this is heroic combating. So a model on foot charges into combat, and let's say that model on foot has 3 attacks, the hero, and he wins the combat, and he's up against 2 or 3 warriors. He's strength 4, and let's say he's up against a defense 6 warrior. He needs 5s. You know, then it makes it a lot harder to kill all of those models in like a heroic combat than it does if he's on a horse and he knocks them down and gets double strike. So having a horse having a horse, or in Kamal's case a fell beast, is definitely an advisable way to go if you can. And you put 2, sorry in advance, especially if it's Jamie reading it, what do you think of this army list at 300 points for a tournament in Games Workshop Chester that I recommended people to come to? So you got Deberts with 4 goblins with shield, 4 goblins with spear, a goblin shaman with 6 goblins with shield and 6 goblins with spear, a goblin captain with 6 goblins with shield, 6 goblins with spear, 34 models. I wanted to keep away from the common Groblog combo and do something different with loads of numbers, not changing the lists. How do you think it will do at Seize the Prize, Hold Ground and To the Death, and how to best play it in those scenarios? Okay, so Seize the Prize is about speed. So it won't do very well with that. You're going to have to heroic march. It depends very much what you're up against. If you were up against my Rohan, for example, you would probably lose unless I'm very unlucky in trying to dig up the prize. Because of course I march up there, I get over the prize, and somebody dismounts, passes it to someone who's mounted and passes it back. So it won't do too well at that. Hold Ground is probably going to be its strongest scenario out of the 3 in my opinion, because you've got a lot of numbers for 300 points. Although, you know, your goblins are just goblins, so they might go down reasonably quick, but you do have fury. which I assume that your channel. And so on that one, on hold ground, you want, of course, to try and make sure that your army comes on together, because if any of it comes on separate, hold ground is the one that you want to lose priority with. So always remember that, you want to lose priority with, so you can see where your opponent comes on. Because if you win priority with hold ground and you end up separated, your opponent has the advantage that they can try and get their army to gang up on just a small part of your army. And, you know, if you're in a situation where your leader is out on his own, or even the shaman is out on his own, then that's going to cause you a lot of problems, because two big parts, one that gives away VPs and one which really keeps your army together, especially with the numbers, means that you're going to be in a bit of trouble. So the trick with that is trying to make sure that your army comes on together, and remember, sometimes it is worth miting it down, miting your roll down, so that you don't come on at all if you are in that predicament. So if you don't want your opponent to have to place you, let's say you roll a 2, it might be worth a point of might to make sure you don't come on. And I would definitely say roll for your shaman to come on first, maybe. Roll for your shaman to come on first, because you want to save his might for, of course, channeling your fury. And then you can use the might of the captain and Groblog to make sure that they come on same kind of place or not at all. So I hope that helps. And then in terms of to the death, okay, well, to the death, you know, you've got quite a lot of models, so it won't be the easiest to break. Although you're probably going to come up against at 300 points a few all-hero lists. All-hero lists should chop through your list reasonably quickly, but of course you do have the numbers, so they'll probably break you. They could probably kill your leader. Your leader's not a tank, really, and you don't have a banner in there for the extra VPs, so that's always something worth thinking about, although a banner for a Goblin Horde maybe isn't worth it, I don't know. So yeah, that's how I would think if I was looking at that scenario. So I hope that helps, Akathon. You also made the comment that, wow, my mugs made it through all parts of the channel: Plantis, hobby vlogs, tournament reviews and previews, and even speak friendly questions. It certainly has. So on to the next question. So the next question is from the AJ Gamer. He's put, hey guys, sorry I didn't ask a question last week, I was on holiday. Hope you went somewhere nice, buddy. My question this week is, what are the best archers in a Minas Tirith army? Citadel Guard with longbows, Rangers of Gondor, or just Warriors of Minas Tirith with bow? Okay, so let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of each of them. So let's start off with the Warriors of Minas Tirith with bow. 4+ shoot value, so you know, not fantastic, but not bad. They're not really bad, are they, with 4+? They've got a strength 2 bow and they're defense 6. So the strength of them really is the fact that they're defense 6, which means that elven bows or strength 3 bows are going to need 6s to wound them, which of course is a good strength. Let's look at Citadel Guard. So Citadel Guard also have a 4+ shoot value, but they do allow you to bring a longbow, so effectively an elf bow. So they've got a strength 3 bow, but they are only defense 5. They are only defense 5, which could be a little bit of an issue, because of course that makes them vulnerable to elven shooting. However, being strength 3 with the bow means that they are at the same time a reasonable counter to elves when it comes to actually killing them. Because of course if you're coming up against wood elves, you're going to need 4s to wound, and if you're coming up against the majority of other kind of elves like the new armoured Mirkwood elves and the Galadrim and stuff like that, then you're going to need 5s rather than the 6s that you would normally need with a strength 2 bow. Then let's look at the Rangers of Minas Tirith. And of course their big advantage is the fact that they've got a better shoot value, so they've got a 3+. They're more likely to hit, but with a strength 2 bow they are again going to struggle against defense 5 and 6 in terms of wounding. My honest answer is that I personally think it's not a bad idea to mix up, so you've got different options in that particular kind of list. I mean, that's should be one of the strengths of a Gondor list, is that from a troop point of view it's pretty versatile, so it can give you lots of options. I actually think one of the mistakes that people make when they make a Gondor list is that they throw all of their eggs in particular baskets, you know, and will do things like, well, you know, I'm just going to use the Rangers for shooting, but then if you come up against something in a tournament that is defense 5, defense 6, you know, that you're going to really struggle wounding. You know, let's not even talk about any kind of defense 7 out there, you know, where that strength 3 bow is going to come in handy again. I think that people do the same with a Gondor list in terms of spamming elites. You know, all the eggs are in one basket, and I think that one of the benefits is that you can afford to have quite a diverse army with Gondor, because you've got such cheap heroes. You can afford to bring lots of different kind of troops which play different roles in, you know, across a tournament weekend, when you are likely to come up against lots of different armies. So my honest answer is that I would definitely think that having a mixture is worth it. I probably would say don't go for Warriors and Minas Tirith with bow, because they won't be defense 6. I said that before, that they would be defense 6. Scrap that. They won't be defense 6 because they can't benefit from the shield when they've got a bow. And so it'd be defense 5. So Warriors and Minas Tirith would be a no-go when compared to the other two, in my personal opinion, although pretty cheap. I would say try and bring a mixture of Rangers and Citadel Guard if you can. That would be my answer to that, so I hope that helps. And then you've also put here as a bonus question, also, can Legolas shoot through friendly troops with his deadly shot? He certainly can. So that's one of the wonderful things about Legolas. He can even shoot into a combat. He can even shoot into a combat to hit an enemy model, which is pretty superb, and that's because he's Legolas. That's what Legolas can do. Okay, so next up we have got, is it Bradley? It is Bradley Cobden. Next up we've got Bradley Cobden, so I've got wet hands on my laptop here. Bradley Cobden. Hey guys, I haven't asked a question in ages. So, Pedil Ed Helen, do you speak Elvish? No, personally I don't. I don't think any of the guys do particularly either, apart from like the odd word or phrase, but I don't think any of us would ever boast that we could speak fluent Elvish. Can you? Can any of you guys out there speak fluent Elvish? That would be very, very impressive in my opinion. You put, also, here's my anti-Smaug list. Just wondered what your thoughts were on it. So for those of you that don't know, Bradley Cobden has made it very public and very known, or at least very known to me, that he is coming to the Redesolation of Stockport in the next couple of weeks, and he wants to play whoever brings Smaug. Whoever brings Smaug, he is determined to play against him. Absolutely determined. And he's put, and so he's actually called out the lad who's bringing it, and I said, well, you know, I'm not a big fan of grudge matches, because inevitably you get competitive players, myself included. I would very much do the same, wanting to play against armies and people that they think that they've got a better chance against. But I'm pretty sure that if he asked whoever got drawn against a Smaug in the first round if he could swap with them, I'm pretty sure the person playing that first round would be keen to swap. So I'm sure that will happen for you, Bradley. So your anti-Smaug list looks like a very themed list. You've got Thrall as your leader with 10 Grim Hammers. You've got Thrain with 10 Grim Hammers. You've got a Captain of Erebor with Shield with 10 Grim Hammers, and you've got a Banner, which total points is 700 points. Okay, so how do I think that will do? I think that you will struggle. What would you be relying on? So Grimhammer is strength 3. Smaug is strength 9, is he? Is he strength 9? So 6, so you can't... Can you bash him? I don't think you can. The fact he can't be trapped. I think it'll be a very hard game for you, but do you know what the wonderful thing is? I think it'll look cool. So I think take lots and lots of pictures, because that really is a truly sort of thematic battle, and I know that is the reason why you're doing it. It's not because you actually think that you are going to take down Smaug, but it's because you want the coolness of it. So good on you, Bradley. Okay, so next up we've got Shen Barnes. But hey guys, my question this week is, how competitive do you think an Isengard army with Lurtz, Saruman, Grima, and maybe an Uruk captain leading Uruks and Berserkers would be? Thanks. I think it would be reasonably competitive. Uruk captains with heavy armor and shield are very good. Saruman and Grima are very, very good. Lurtz gives you extra might compared to a captain, which is okay. You don't have a shaman in there. Usually a shaman is a big deal for competitiveness in that kind of evil army. And nor do you have Rascal and crossbows, but I guess if your theme is that you want to sort of really go for it and charge at your opponent and be all combat, then you know, we have to see. I think the tough thing with sort of rating how competitive that is that we've got no idea what kind of size army we're talking about. I mean, if that's in 400 points, then it might find it really tough because you've got Saruman and Grima taking up so many of the points, and then Lurtz and Urukai Captain won't be leading many troops. So maybe give us a more fleshed out list and let us know. Give us a fleshed out list with the points that you're looking at, and I'll be able to tell you a little bit more whether it's more competitive at those points or not. Okay, so next up we've got Tanya T. She is coming to the Redesolation of Stoppoint in a couple of weeks. Look forward to meeting you, Tanya. You've got, hi guys, not too sure what to ask this week, so let's go with this. Should Eowyn get the I Am No Man special rule, which would be one use heroic combat which cannot be counted to allow her a chance of killing the Witch King? So I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? Do you mean like once per game she can call a heroic combat without using might? Is that what you mean? I mean, I think what would be better is that, you know, she effectively I don't know, she actually had a themed rule where if she was fighting the Witch King, then if she wounds the Witch King, it instantly kills him, or something along those lines. I don't know. That would probably be a little bit more themey. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have got some ideas about what you think about that. So let us know in the comments below. And you've also put, could your significant other halves do a special guest appearance on shows when you go to the Nova Open, so we can see what they think of your hobby? Well, there would have been absolutely no way. One, we've obviously we took our cameras with us to the Nova Open, but there would be no way that Jane would have filmed something and uploaded it and done all that kind of stuff while I was away. There's just absolutely no way. Lily and Emma would be more likely, I would say, to do something like that, but of course we had our cameras. There was no way they were going to do that while we were away. I think that those kind of videos are interesting. What would be a good idea is that when GBHL Damien first came onto when he was first invited to be part of the GBHL team, he did a video with the lovely Emma O'Byrne, where he got her to talk about what she thought about the hobby, and it was a very good video, nice long video, very interesting. Lots of people enjoyed it because it showed something different. It was a very honest video. So if you go and check that out, I'm not sure where you would find it, but if you look through the archives of videos, remember we've released hundreds of videos, but if you look through the archives, you might be able to find that video, which is Damien and Emma O'Byrne talking about what she thinks about the hobby. I think it'd be an interesting thing for Tom to do with Lily, and I think it'd be an interesting thing for Jane to do with me. She's just out taking Bilbo for a walk at the moment. We're enjoying our Sunday. Just had some nice bacon sandwiches. I have to admit, I've not been particularly healthy since I got back from honeymoon. But you know what, I'm happy, so that's all that matters. I think that you would get very different answers from each host's other half. Emma was very much sort of along the lines of she wasn't sure how to sort of take it at first, but you know, it's something that he'd always kind of done, and she's very supportive of it now, and I think it helps Emma because I think one thing that helps with Emma is that she has her own hobbies. Like she does a lot of what's it called? Scrapbooking. That's right, scrapbooking. So she does a lot of scrapbooking where she sort of logs memories and times and photos, and she does really nice fancy artwork with it, and it's really cool. So I think the fact that she's got a hobby helps her with it. I think with Jane, she's coming in the house now, so I probably won't say much, but I think you get a very different opinion from her, because I only started the hobby since we've been together, so that would be a very, very different kind of opinion. Hello! Hey Mr. Bilbo! Oh, you're not coming to ruin this video as well, are you? Look at him, look at him! What a good boy! Hello! Oh, he's so happy to see me. So yeah, I think, Jane, somebody asked, would at some point, someone puts here, could your significant other halves do a special guest appearance on shows to see what, so that they can see what you think about our hobby?
Yeah, do you want me to unbox a Jumbo perfume again?
Of course, Jane has been in a video. Have you been in a couple of videos? I think you've been in a couple. But one video where she unboxed a Jo Malone perfume.
Anyone wants to send me one?
Yeah, if anybody wants to send Jane a free pomegranate noir, what was it called, a diffuser?
So we'll have to unbox something different. So it might be like Perman Freesia.
I have no idea what that is, but it sounds expensive. Are you up for that at some point, Jane? Doing a video? Yeah? So there you go. Jane will do a video like that for you at some point in the future. Not sure when, but we'll do that. So thanks very much, Tanya. Next up, we've got Hobby Spot NZ. So hey guys, quick question. I'm going to a 500 points tournament and I'm taking Riverdale Knights. Good choice. They're very good. As I found out in America and at Longbottom, they are very, very good. Very strong. Because they can do, you know, yeah, you're going to have low numbers, so breaking can happen quite easily, but as long as you're careful, you should be able to keep enough away to keep you from being broken, as long as you know how much that you can commit and how much you can't at various points. However, 500 points is a frustrating number, as I can only take 11 knights and 1 captain. My dilemma is, should I take the twins mounted for the remaining 170, or get the 5 Doanroth knights, 5 Doanroth knights with a captain? Cheers. Well, I would say don't do 5 Doanroth knights with captain, because that's vastly sort of changing what that force needs to do in order to win. So where a Rivendell Knight has its strengths is the fact that it's an Apache helicopter of a troop. It can do what a Rohan force, it can do what Rohan does, but at a better value, although you have less numbers, and does it better. So for example, for an all-mounted Rohan force to work, I should add, is that of course you have to skirmish with your opponent, you have to make them make mistakes, you have to try and pick them off and force them to chase the game, so that when they spread out, they become isolated, when they present weaknesses, you can jump on them with your sort of strong counter-attacking Sons of Ale, and then you counter-attack that attack and all of these kind of things. Well, the wonderful thing about Rivendell Knight is that you don't have to take a Rider of Rohan to do one part and a Son of Ale. Sons of Ale's, you know, are better straight up in combat, you know, I would say, no problem at all. But a Rivendell Knight can fulfill both roles in one 22.55 strength 3 bow model with a lance. So they are very, very, very strong. So if you put Doanroth Knights with them, what are Doanroth Knights' strengths? Well, Doanroth Knights' strengths are in the charge and being coupled with Imrahil, because of course the banner effect. And without that, they're going to suffer from exactly the same that other cavalry suffer with, which is when you lose the inevitable roll-off, which will happen. It's not that you inevitably lose it, but at some point you might. When you lose the roll-off for priority, for the heroic moves, and they get swamped, they're basically an expensive, a very, very expensive infantry model with a large base that can be surrounded and trapped easy. So that's something to think about. So I wouldn't go with that, and remember that fiefdom captains aren't particularly strong anyway. If you take 11 knights and 1 captain, twins mounted would be a good addition, although again my opinion would be you're going to, what kind of role are the twins good for? The twins are great for combat, so I guess they could help when you do get to combat, but you're going to have to do a lot of whittling down of your opponents to even out your game. Like, you really are, because you are going to have a lower model count than a lot of other things at 500 points that aren't all hero. And yet again, when you come up against all hero, you're going to be a disadvantage because the heroes are going to be stronger. Yeah, the twins give you a lot of might, but they're not really benefiting the type of force. So I took Legolas mounted, and I found that really, really helped. Or to be honest, getting a wizard in there. So if you've got 170 points, what you could do is you could take good Saruman on a horse would be really good. The blasting and the long range immobilise and compelling, shutting down enemy heroes, and also being very offensive and, you know, complementing your ranged attack with his Sorcerer's Blast would be very strong. So I think that would probably be a better option for you. Maybe taking a wizard or trying to get Legolas in there or something like that, because that's going to complement what you've got. Can I just say as well, new Legolas is an absolute beast, having used him. Just absolute tank, really. I was a bit worried about sort of taking him, but he was brilliant. Him and Gandalf were just superb throughout the whole Nova, and at Longbottom Carnival as well, I have to say. Okay, so next up, I hope that helps, by the way, buddy. Next up we've got Thomas Turtle. He's put, love the content lately. James's journey vlog is so cool. Something a bit different today. Blur or Oasis, Tupac or Eminem, Taylor Swift or Rihanna, Coldplay or Muse. Okay, so Blur or Oasis. On the whole, Oasis I would say, but I do really like Blur. But Oasis probably more consistently across various albums. Between Tupac or Eminem, I'd say Eminem. I used to really like Tupac when I was growing up. Eminem probably, again, across more albums, had a bigger impact on me, especially with the age that I am. Taylor Swift or Rihanna? Well, I've got no idea. Jane, I'm going to let you answer this one. Taylor Swift or Rihanna?
Taylor Swift.
Jane says Taylor Swift, no doubt. I'm pretty sure that GBHL Damien and GBHL Jamie will agree with that, considering the searches on our joint GBHL YouTube accounts comes up as Taylor Swift as like the top search or something, so those guys are clearly into a bit of Taylor. Coldplay or Muse? Again, probably across more albums and across more songs. There is more Coldplay than I like the Muse, but I do love Muse. I really do love Muse. I love all kinds of Muse songs. I think that Muse's cover of Feeling Good is just one of the best pieces of music ever. So that's my opinion on that. So thanks very much for a bit of a different question there, Mr. Tom Turtle. Okay, next up we've got Andreas the Norwegian Viking. He's put good luck at Nova, guys. Well, thank you very much, and we certainly took all that good luck over with us, and we did quite well in the end. So very pleased with the results from the British. So next up we've got Brad Thy Hipstays. But hello, I'm finally back in the loop and with a question. Well, welcome back, Brad. But how do I take down shades quick and easy? Thanks again, guys. Well, if you've got new Galadriel, banish. You can banish her. Shooting isn't a reliable way to get rid of a shade, obviously high defense, but they do have low courage, so breaking an enemy army can be a good way of getting rid of a shade. Another good way is to do things like Eldamar Madrigal with a sentinel, move them away from the battle line, immobilize and compel them so they're not doing their job, so it's 100 points wasted. Keep them back away from the goblins if the goblins are advancing. Make the army static by having to have it stay with the shade. These are all good ways of getting it down. Getting a good heroic combat around onto it, although it's got a number of wounds, so you want to get a few things onto it, but if you can get a hero and a couple of decent troops, or cavalry, or a couple of heroes to heroic combat off of a flank to get round the back door, a good player with a shade will keep that door closed by putting various things in the way and everything, but if you can get a hero into it, then the shade could go down reasonably quickly. So yeah, I hope that helps, Brad Thy Hipster. Let me just dry my hands before I scroll up to the next question. There we go. Okay, so next up we've got James and his stuff. He's put, I like these vids. He's put, what is the best way to make a story campaign? Thanks. Actually, like a narrative campaign for this game? Well, it's up to you. I mean, do you want to follow the story of that are in the books and in the movies? If so, then there are various scenarios and things you can do. But judging from the way that you've worded your question, I'm guessing you mean like make your own narrative. Well, the first thing that I would say is it's just the same with any kind of creative writing, isn't it? Think of, you know, the characters that you want and a rough kind of plot line that you want to follow and setting, and you know what sort of makes these characters what they are, and then you can build your scenarios around that. You know, is your the start of it has to really establish the character. So so it has to establish a reason why that character is going on this journey and is going to be part of all of these, so that the audience really is with that character and supports them and wants them to do well. So it could be something like, you know, his village is being burned down, and you come up with a scenario that represents that. You want to be careful because, of course, you don't want to fudge things in this game, because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of fudging a result just to create a story? I think it happened once on miniwargaming.com when they got caught doing it, and there was a massive backlash. I was not a fan, because, you know, otherwise it's not a game, is it? You might as well be just, you know, keep on rolling until you get a result that you want that fits in with your storyline. You've got to be flexible if you're doing a narrative campaign for that reason, because anything can happen. So you've got to have sort of contingency plans. Well, what happens if this character does die in this? You know, how am I going to keep the audience engaged in this? Which you've got to have contingency plans, whether that's other characters or backstories. You know, but just play. You've got to play with a bit of creative writing first. Make the story first, and then focus on how to make the game tell that story second. So I hope that helps James in his stuff. Next up, it's 19 Mark F91, who I believe is coming to the Redesolation of Stockport in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. You've got, hey guys, does Fury still work if the Shaman is immobilised? Thanks and happy strategy battle gaming. PS, good luck in Noble. Well, thank you very much, Mark. Yes, Fury does still work, I believe, if the Shaman is immobilised. It stops working, of course, if they are reduced to 0 will, which is an issue. So if an opponent is maybe naive enough to use that last point of will to try and resist and immobilise, then that's a good way of getting rid of Fury. And of course Ring Wraiths can do that reasonably reliably, sap will, but just immobilising them, that does not get rid of Fury. Okay, so next up we've got Dave Egan. He said, okay, since it seems now it's a well-known secret I intend to bring Smaug to Redesolation of Stockport 2015. Thanks for blowing my cover, James. Well, I'm very excited about it because I've never seen it before. I know that a lot of people will not want to get drawn up against you or Smaug, although Bradley Cobden seems to. You know, so at least you've got one person who wants to play you. As long as I get him painted up, which I should, I might as well stop trying to be subtle about it and ask whatever questions I have relating to him. But so, if Smaug breathes fire and Grima is within 2 inches of the range of the target model, does Grima get affected? I would say so. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. Unless, no, but again, you know, you might not be able to target him. But you're not targeting him, you're targeting something which is near him, and it just happens that he could then be affected. He could then be affected by the effects of that. So I would say that Grima can be. It says in the Mordor FAQ that when rolling to wound with a Morgul blade, the Witch King must use his strength and attack values, although he may still double his attacks if he knocks his opponent to the ground. So if the Witch King on Felbeast charges Smaug, wins the fight, and rolls to wound with the Morgul blade, he will only roll 1 dice. Would he not roll 2 dice? Is Smaug classed as monstrous cavalry? I'm pretty sure unless he's counted as monstrous cavalry, you'll still get the +1 for charging him with monstrous cavalry. It's just that you won't knock him down, obviously, so you still get +1, and then you apply the Morgul blade to all attacks that you can make during that turn. If it specifically states that he must use his strength and attack values, then you'll have to use his strength and attack values. So if you've got the Witch King with 1 attack, I don't know, but he's on a Felbeast and you use that and he goes up to 2 attacks because he's charged, of course he doesn't knock down, then I'm sure that the Morgul blade wound would be from 2. But a better place to ask that than me would be to get yourself onto the Great British Hobbit League actual thread and see what those guys say. But that would be my feeling with that without having a rulebook in front of me. You put, I'm thinking and theorising ways to eliminate various things that might be a nuisance for Smaug. Also, James, I'm aware that Bradley Cobden is challenging me to play at play Smaug at Redesolation of Stockport. I'd just like to say that I'll happily... Hello, Bilbo. Hello. I'd just like to say I'd happily accept the challenge as long as whoever I'm drawn against in the first round consents to swap. Somehow I don't think that would be a problem. Yeah, I think the same as you, buddy. I'm pretty sure that everybody will consent to do that swap. Almost certainly. Perhaps you should put a shout out to see if there's anyone else there who's clinically insane and actually wants to play Smaug. Cheers, gents, and happy strategy battle gaming. Well, I know that Jamie really wants to play Smaug. So maybe we could set that up. No, we'll just see. We'll do the draw, and then based on that draw, I would probably say I'm aware that whoever is playing Smaug, if you would not like to play Smaug, there has been a challenge, and you know, I'm sure whoever it is will be overjoyed. But if they want to play you, then that will have to be the draw that happens. So yeah. And you put cheers, gents, and happy strategy battle gaming. Well, thank you very much, Dave, and I look forward to seeing you at the Desolation of Stockport. Have you bought your ticket yet? I'm not sure if I've added you to the list or not. I cannot remember. Okay, so next up we've got Resco Nesco. He's put, hello, another great speak friendly question and good responses to my questions. I was thinking the Shire as well for my feast. Sausages and cheese. Haha, James. Alright, question for this week. If you could add a horse to any hero's profile, who would you pick? That is a good question. Now, for the league final 2014, which I ran in Stockport, there was a special scenario called the Minas, which was a little bit of a random scenario where you had to try and capture this horse that could randomly bolt away and kick you, and you know, in some games, not in all games, but in some games, some hilarity did ensue, particularly when I watched Owen Wright's game, and he had the Minas for most of the game, and then the thing bolted, kicked his leader in the head and killed him or something like that. I can't remember. I think kicked Forlong in the head and either wounded him or killed him. I can't remember, but it was something which was rather hilarious and you know, improbable. And that allowed people, the people who won that scenario could mount any hero from their list on a Minas, which was a 12-inch moving horse with armoured horse. So basically a pureblood seed, like a Son of Owl has. And I was thinking, you know, things like from a gaming point of view, mounting an Uruk-hai captain is vicious. You know, an Uruk-hai captain mounted is pretty vicious. But looking at the rest of the game, so of course I love Rohan, and I personally think that all Rohirrim heroes should be able to be mounted, so the King's Huntsman would be viable, I think, if you could mount him. If you had the option to take a horse, then I would look to maybe put him in my force, maybe. He's not terrible, he's okay. Kind of fits in quite well with the horse skirmishy kind of thing, perhaps. Although he would be a dent on the numbers, which is an issue, but you know, is he really worth 2 Sons of Ale dropping out? I'm not so sure. And the same with Grimbold, you know, it doesn't make sense for me for any Rohan hero to not be able to be mounted. So those are the 2 that I would probably say from there. Although looking at other lists, I'd love to be able to mount Gimli, so that then I could have mounted Aragorn, mounted Legolas and mounted Gimli, and could really sort of do a 3 hunters, but have the Gimli profile in there. That would be cool. I think I'd like that very much. Who else would I like to be able to mount? I think off the top of my head that's it, you know, the ones which are dear to me, as it were. Yeah, I can't think of any more really. Maybe be able to mount Arathorn, you know, some of those Arnor heroes that can't be mounted, because that could work quite well with an all mounted Ranger of the North army, which could be quite cool to look at. And you've also got another question here, buddy. You've put, and a bit of game theory for you, 1 or 2 will when channeling Blinding Light with Gandalf. I use 2 when channeling Blinding Light with Gandalf. you will tend to channel if you think that you're going to quickly need his spell casting for other things early in the game. What I've learned using him is actually that sometimes it's not a bad idea to sort of keep that might back, and you know, if you don't think you're going to be able to affect the game in another way, or if your opponent doesn't have shooting, you don't need to obviously channel your blinding light, or you can just pop it up with your 3 dice. If you think you're going to need the will and you think you're going to need the might, you can just free one, and on a 2+ you can reliably get it. But if you're channeling something and you're using a point of might, I think it's better to use 2 dice and lessen your chances of just rolling a 1 and having to use 2 might to get it up. I think it's more worth using a free point of will and a will from your store and a point of might than using, you know, your free will and 2 points of might. Definitely. So, and I think the other guys would probably agree with that as well. And you've got also a bonus non-SBG question: the coolest armour in Middle-earth from the films. Well, I really like obviously the Rohirrim style of armour. I'm really into sort of the Anglo-Saxon kind of look, and I really liked Theoden and Éomer's armour. I thought that looked really cool. Although when they sort of dress up Merry and Pippin, because I would have been younger at the time, I really liked that idea that you could also have mini armours. So I thought that their armour was very cool. I really like, in the Hobbit movies, I really like the aesthetic of the armour for Thranduil. I think Thranduil's armour looks really cool. The way it's almost sort of black, goes between being black and silver, which is really cool. What else do I like? I like the appearance of the dwarves of Erebor and the Ironhill dwarves. I think their armour looks really cool in the new movies. So yeah, I think that answers that question. Resco Nesco, look forward to seeing you, Matthew Gwilliam, in Redesolation of Stockport. Okay, so next up we've got Dirk Helms. He's put, hey, can Galadriel's blinding light spell affect the magic spells of evil spellcasters just like it affects evil archers? Great journey vlogs, keep up the good work. No, it cannot. Unfortunately, it cannot. I'm hissing because there is a cat that is about to spray all over my plants and wipe its bum all over them and destroy another privet bush thing. Get out of it. Get out of it. Yeah, don't even think about it, mister. I'll come out there and kick your cat ass. Okay, no, it doesn't affect spells. It just affects shooting attacks, and spells are not a shooting attack. So I hope that helps Dirk. Next up we've got Cause I Like To, with a proper question. He's put, hey again guys, I hope you're all doing well. Just wondering if you guys would like this rough list. Don't worry Jamie, it's not a proper army list. I want to create an Empire of Dale force to possibly bring to tournaments. I would probably have 500 points of Lake Town, Esgaroth, which would have Alfred to represent a councillor for the Master of Esgaroth. These will probably be head swapped maybe with Militia. Then Bard, who I might put in as captain of the Dale armour. I would use the old Bard model. And a captain of Lake Town Guard. Then enough Lake Town Guard to fill up 500 points. Then the remaining 200 would be made up of Dale, warriors and captain or Girion head swaps to represent a character. Would this force do okay? Any auto-include things? Also, what colour scheme should I go for? Sorry for the long question, but I thought I would treat you guys after the recent tournaments. Well, thank you very much for your contribution there. Okay, well, Lake Town can be pretty competitive because you can hoard it out. There's some nice little combinations in there which work really well, and it sounds like you've got a sort of theme for your army in mind, so I see no reason why you shouldn't go ahead and do it. If you like that theme, then go for it, buddy. That's what it's all about. Colour schemes, again, completely your call. I've got no idea what you like or what you're into. Always go with your heart. I mean, I think that the blues work really well, but I reckon like browns, almost like the Dale, like oranges and browns could work quite well. Like the Warriors of Dale box set. are pictured. I think that would work really, really well. So thank you very much, because I like to. Next up we've got Ryan Davies. He's put, hey guys, loving the Nova updates. Firstly, what do you think of the Rohan King's Huntsman? Worth taking? Personally, I mean, I think he's okay. Have I ever taken him? Would I take him? Probably not. He can't be mounted on in a defensive foot force. Then maybe, but I can't see sort of any army build where that would be worthwhile. I mean, unless you're maxing out Outriders on foot in a foot army to try and be your shooting contingent. So, and then you're effectively got Rangers. That's effectively what they become from a shooting point of view, with a 3+ shoot value but 2+, strength 2 bow. I don't see any situation where you would be sort of sitting back, not on a horse and shooting. To be honest, if you're going to go for infantry Rohan, then it's a mid-range, mid to close range force where you want to be quite close to your opponent, maybe using throwing spears or just in their face, or just dominating objectives. So personally, I think that he's okay. I think for 50 points though, I think he sort of chips into the army a bit too much for what he brings, and there are other things that are worth bringing ahead of him. If he could be mounted on a horse, then that might change my opinion, and I would maybe theorise that. So I hope that helps Ryan. Next up we've got Jesse H. She's put, when using the King's Champion plus Heralds to gain Defence 9, how do the 3 models have to be touching in base contact? Is it all 3 touching in a kind of triangle, or is it the 3 set up in a line sufficient enough? Cheers. I think it's all 3 set up in a line is sufficient. I don't think that they have to be in contact with 2 at a time. I don't think. I mean, I've recently played against them. I don't think that they had to all be touching each other. Off the top of my head, I'm quite sure it's one of those things which is reasonably clear when you read it in the actual book itself. If it says it needs to be in base contact with 2, then it would have to be like a little triangle. If it says that they all need to be sort of in base contact, then I would probably question that. I don't know off the top of my head, to be perfectly honest. Again, get yourself onto the Great British Hobbit League Facebook page and maybe re-ask that question, because I don't know. It depends how it's worded. Okay, so next up we've got Alex Francis. He's got, hey guys, my question this week is, can old Thranduil heroic channel his spells, which come with his Circlet of Kings? Thank you for your answer last week, and great video as always. I have no idea. This is the problem with doing the washing up while you do this. You can't go and just run and grab the rule book. That would be cheating. I don't think this is one of those things which is ambiguous either. This is either in an FAQ or is pretty clear in the rules. I'm pretty sure that they get to auto cast something on a spell on a 6. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to heroic channel it off the top of my head, unless it specifically states, because they are spells. So I'm going to take a punt and say that they can heroic channel them. I'm taking a punt, I'm going to say that. Just as ever, make sure that you declare that you are going to heroic channel at the start of the movement phase. And I can't think of any reason why you couldn't heroic channel, unless you check the wording for in heroic channel and it says that it has to be spells which are listed that you can do, whereas Circlet of Kings is a piece of war gear. Is it a war gear with effects, or, like I say, while I'm stood here doing a washing up, I can't reference that for you, I'm afraid. So yeah, get yourself into the Great British Hobbit League Facebook group and ask that question. We'll wait until Jamie's here next week, because he will know the answer to that one. So next up we've got Ryan Tully. He's put, the tournament I'm going to is MOAB. So unless you guys are planning on travelling to Australia next month, I doubt I'll be running into you at any tournaments anytime soon. Well, get thinking about next year, because I have very good knowledge that the guys from America, the guys from Canada, the guys from Germany, guys from Holland, a lot of them are going to be trying to get over to Stockport next year. So start thinking about next October. And we'll make some announcements for that soon. That should be very, very cool. But regarding the army list, I'm playing the old Rivendell list as I really like the characters. Question this week is, one powerful hero or several smaller heroes? Thanks for answering, and great video, as if it needs to be said. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate the feedback and the contribution. I find that from experience I prefer having a big hero in there, and then maybe some smaller supporting ones, and a lot of that's because of the scenarios can be quite dependent on your leader surviving. So a good example of that is, you know, I used to run my 500 point Rohan list and I'd have Marshal of the Riddermark, so not beefy Aemma. I used to have Eowyn and Erkenbrand, and now I very much favour putting Knight of the Pelennor in there if I can, because you play a little bit differently. You can be a little bit more aggressive when you need to be, otherwise you do have to be a bit more skirmishy, because you've not got anything that can really hold it out. You know, 2 wounds and 2 fate isn't going to really stand up enough against big stuff that's right at this level. So I prefer having a bigger hero, although one of the great things about the High Elves is that you have got the option to take the twins, and the twins do so much there for a High Elf force at a smaller points level, with the amount of might that they bring and the fact that they are pretty survivable in different ways. So I would probably go more down that route. You know, I'd rather have a Glorfindel or I'd rather have a Glorfindel in there or a Gil-galad than a couple of Eristors and Círdans and Arwyns and stuff like that. So I hope that helps. So next up we've got Spiral Project. I know for a fact that Spiral Project is also coming to the Redesolation of Stockport next month, so I look forward to meeting you. But hey guys, great video, glad you enjoyed the O-Face. We always enjoy the O-Face over here. After a short spending spree in Warhammer, I am looking for a themed list to get me back into the game. I will be buying at around 700 points, and here are the options. A Minas Tirith force with Boromir, a Thranduil's Halls list, an Erebor list with a Sneaky Dane conversion, or the Shire. Can you run through what you would do with these lists and which would be competitive but themed? Cheers for what I'm sure will be a great answer, and keep up the good work. Okay, well, you can take a themed and very competitive Shire list easy enough. You know, you just take all of the heroes from that list, and you max out your bows, and you do your upgrades where you can, and you end up with just a phenomenal amount of shooting, hitting on 3+s with strength 2 bows. It's very, very tough. So a Shire force, if you can get hold of it with all of its sort of standard heroes, is a very competitive army, which is utterly themed. An Erebor army can also be pretty themed. I mean, you're quite lacking in terms of troops that you can take. If you do want to take troops, you could take a third sort of the Dale warriors as archers, but most people tend to take sort of front rank axe and shield, and rear rank spear and shield, and then Thorin, and mount up your Thorin if you can, and Dwalin, and mount up your Dwalin if you can. That tends to be sort of a standard Erebor list, which is quite competitive. Thranduil's Halls has got a lot of variety now, and it's quite a competitive list. It depends what kind of army you want to go for. Do you want to go for a shooty army? If so, take the less beefed up heroes, so not beefed up Legolas, not beefed up Thranduil and Tariel. Go for your Rangers, and Mirkwood Rangers in there would be good. Go for all your archers, all that kind of stuff. Hello. It's okay, it was a cat. We got it. Cat in my plants again. Unbelievable. So yeah, that can be quite competitive. Minas Tirith is probably on there what you would consider to be the least competitive list. But one of the wonderful things is that you can fit a beefy hero like Boromir with heavy armour, shield, lance, horse, and still get quite a lot of troops, a lot of defence 6 troops, because there's a lot of cheaper other options for heroes, which isn't a bad call. So you can just max out warriors in Minas Tirith, shield front rank, you get your odd elite in there, Fountain Court, Citadel Guard, Rangers. to provide you spear support because they're going to be higher fight value, provide something different. And then you take your likes of Beragond and Damrod and Denethor and all of these guys, which just give you a way of taking lots of troops because they're very, very cheap. So I hope that helps. Wow, I've finally done the washing up, which is good. Took me a while, but we got there in the end. So yeah, let's finish off these questions. So I hope that helps Spiral Project. Let's get my hands dried. Okay, so next up we've got Warlord. We met Warlord. This is Lance. I believe this was Lance. He was running the War of the Rings games out at the Nova Open. Really nice to meet you, Lance. You're a good guy. And what a spectacle you created with that Helm's Deep scenario. It looked really, really cool. Really cool. Okay, so the question you've put is, here's a question. Do you guys know what happened to the One Ring UK website? I keep getting internal survey error message. Can you access the website, or do you know if it's shut down? Well, it's not been shut down. There are some problems with it, unfortunately. Lots of people are struggling to access it from phones and tablets in particular, and from certain browsers. I can still access it for some reason, but some people have had problems. But I do know that Dagalad, the guy who keeps on top of the One Ring, is working on it, and it will be back at some point. It's just that he's got no idea how to get it back at the moment. But he is working on it, so I'm sure it'll all be fine, and it will be back up at some point. And here's hoping that it's all fixed soon. Okay, so next up we've got Clint Whitney. So this is one of the guys who we met out in Nova Open. Hopefully I can call him a good pal now. We went and we had some nice drinks on the Saturday evening. He was one of my fellowship that stayed out late, and apparently while I was going ham. I believe that's the American term for just going for it. Is that right? So anyways, but hey guys, good to meet you in person. Yeah, it was good to meet you too, buddy. Figure I'll get back in the loop. What type of video editing software do you use, and what other brands have you used? Thanks. Well, I use a Mac, as does Damien. So iMovie is pretty good. That's what I had at first, although I had some problems with iMovie. So I know that Damien and I both use Final Cut Pro. Jamie, what does Jamie use? I think does Jamie just use his standard one? I believe he was trying to get Sony Vegas Pro going, because that's meant to be a good one. That's the one that the guys at Mini Wargaming use. But I just don't think he's quite used to it yet, so I can't remember what it is that he uses. But that's what we use, so I hope that helps, Clint. You think about putting together some content? That would be pretty cool. So next up we've got Matthew Ridgely. He's like, hey guys, does immobilising the captain, whoever is driving the Mummock, immobilise the Mummock as a result? Someone was pulling that card at my local Games Workshop the other day, and it just seemed to void the rule that the Mummock cannot be immobilised. Well, if the rule is that the Mummock cannot be immobilised, then immobilising the driver would not, in my opinion. Also, after seeing the time you guys had at Nova, I reckon your next trip should be down here to New Zealand for a New Zealand Hobbit League event. It'll be more English B&B than Hughes Convention Centre though. Well, I'm sure we wouldn't mind if you guys did what the Americans did to try and get us over there. Then I'm pretty sure that all of us would be incredibly keen on that. Remember that DCHL Devin and his gang made the decision to come over a lot easier for us. And take from that what you will. But I'm pretty sure if the guys in New Zealand wanted us to come over and support an event and were willing to do the same, then I'm sure that all of the GBHL hosts would be keen, especially after the amazing time that we had at the Nova Open. So the Mummock question, I mean, I honestly don't know, because I don't play with the Mummock that often, and I'm not going to go look at the rule book. But I'm pretty sure if it says that you can't immobilise the Mummock, then if you just immobilise the Beastmaster person on top, then I'm sure that doesn't immobilise the whole Mummock. So next up we've got Jericho Jackson. He's put, hey, hope I'm in time for the next video. You certainly were. But will the Desolation of Stockport 2016 possibly be on the weekend of April 23rd, 24th, similar to 2015? If so, it would be aligned with my mid-semester break next year, and there's a good chance I could make the trip over from New Zealand. Would be awesome to experience a GBHL tournament. Well, that's great news. So I could probably find for you the dates. Let's just have a quick look. I will go on Facebook and I will go into the Great British Hobbit League 2015 committee run by Tom Harrison, and I will go and I will check down at the provisional schedule for next year. So I know that we're running an event on October the 23rd and 24th, or I think probably it'll be me running the event in October. But Jamie and I, the one in April looks like it will be the 23rd and 24th. There we go. So unless there is any reason why not, which I can't think of off the top of my head, if I just check and have a little look around. Nope, nobody wanted to swap that. So yeah, it looks like there will be the 23rd and 24th of April and the 23rd and 24th of October. So so that looks like it fits in quite well with you coming over. So fingers crossed you can make it from New Zealand, buddy. That would be amazing. It's obviously meant to be, Jericho. So next up we've got Crocodile. He's put, hi, thanks for the great channel. I watch it every day and the vlog from Nova was great. I have a question for you. I am planning my first SBG tournament at 500 points. Yes, good level, 500 points. How many matches is optimal? Is 90 minutes per game enough? Which scenarios do you recommend? And the best way to count the wins at losses? Best regards from Sweden, Mikael Janssen, is that right? Mikael Janssen or Michael Janssen? Okay, so how many matches is optimal? Well, it depends if you're doing a one-day tournament or a two-day event. I would say if you're doing a one-day tournament, you want to try and squeeze 5 games in because it's just a little bit more conclusive. I think 4 games you can. Is it 4 games you can still have 2 people on maximum wins, but only one of them win the tournament? I think so. I think 5 games is optimum if you can fit them in. An hour 30 for 500 points might be okay. I think an hour 30 to an hour 45 is probably a good idea. 15-minute breaks in between games is fine. Give yourself a half hour to hour lunch break. Say half hour lunch break if you're trying to fit in more games, if it's a one-day tournament. If it's a 2-day event, try and do 4 games on your first day, 3 on your second day. That's usually a good idea for 500 points. And I would say if it's your first event, just use the scenarios from the rules pack and just get used to using them. So not from the rules pack, from the source books. Once you've nailed that and you're quite confident with those, then you can start doing modified versions, but otherwise you'll just confuse the hell out of people and find your whole time explaining what the scenarios are to different people. So I hope that helps, Crocodile. Next up we've got John McConnell. He's put, reposting this question statement for you from the Facebook page. Sweeping generalisation this, but it does seem, does it seem like to you that there is a focus on the tournament scene in the UK, whereas in the US, at least in the DC area, the main focus, at least for now, seems to be thematic games, terrain, etc. Granted, we are at different places in the average Hobbit, Lord of the Rings gamer's life cycle here, with many people just starting out and building their first or second army. I will add that the GBHL visit may have kick-started the tourney scene due to the massive wins by your crowd and the resulting embarrassment for the US and Canadian tournament participants. It's a challenge that must now be accepted. Well, first up, I think you're being a little unfair about your own there. Yes, I would definitely say that from the 32 that we met there, it was evident that a lot of the guys there aren't regularly playing competitive tournament play. That's not to say that those guys weren't good players or that level won't come, but it was just little things, particularly stuff like magic. Magic was a big one, in my opinion, was where a lot of the guys over there seemed to sort of lack experience a little bit, and that's all it is. It wasn't a standard in terms of, they were a lower standard of player, definitely not. There was some really good competitive games in there. For goodness sake, we lost a few. I lost a couple of games. I know the tournament wasn't about winning and losing. It was about the number of victory points that you got. So of course we weren't really focused on the winning or losing part. It was more about could you get the VPs. because that mattered more. But you know, we lost a few games, so I don't think it was that the standard was lower in that sense. It's just that there was definitely a lack of experience in that. Now, would I say that that this is more of a focus on tournament play in the UK? Well, there will be, because we're playing tournaments every 3 to 4 weeks, but that doesn't mean that dominates the scene. It just means that because people are playing in tournaments regularly, that there is more of that kind of player, or more of that kind of play, I should say, because I think it's got negative connotations, the idea of like a tournament player. There's a difference between being, you know, competitive and being win at all costs, of course. There's a difference between playing to win and playing to really sort of screw over your opponent. So I would say, of course, because that we have a more mature tournament scene, which is sort of, and that's mainly because, you know, one, the channel has been great for that. Mikolaj got together the league, so the experienced players were finally getting together at events that weren't just the Throne of Skulls Warhammer World events, and then of course it's exploded from then. Which have been great, and now there's lots of different venues running them, and they're regular, so everybody's getting to play lots of different kinds of things and different kinds of armies and different tactics all of the time. And of course, steel sharpens steel, doesn't it? You know, if you're playing against competitive players more regularly, then that is going to up your own standard of games. Whereas, you know, we're quite lucky that most people, the furthest that they will travel to an event is like 4 or 5 hour drive, you know. But you guys in the States, you know, there were people that had been driving for 12, 15, 16 hours to get there, or taking flights from across the country the same. So because you're all a bit more spread out, that means it's going to be much harder to sort of have that kind of regularity and therefore build that kind of experience. I wouldn't say that means that therefore the UK has less of a fluffy thematic scene either, because I would say, let's say that we do get over 70 for the redesolation of Stockport in a couple of weeks, which looks possible. I would say that out of that, less than a third will be going there with very competitive armies, trying to be competitive, trying to win. Most people go there because they want to play with the toys that they painted and do as well as they can with them, but meet other people that are interested in the game, see other models, and just be involved in the hobby generally. So I wouldn't say that you guys have got more of a sort of theme thing, and it's the same with the boards. Although you guys had some very nice themed boards, they weren't being used for your tournaments, for the actual tournament play. Everybody was playing on relatively generic 4x4 boards, which had a bit of woodland, a little bit of ruins, and like a generic kind of building thing. Nothing wrong with that, if you know, that levels the playing field in terms of competitive play. But I would say that in the UK, you know, a lot of the tournaments probably have more of a variety of themed boards for general access for the tournament than what we had at Nova. Although the themed boards at Nova for the themed events were of course a tremendous standard and were much better than a lot of the things that I've seen at UK tournaments. So it's an interesting one. I wouldn't say that you've got a more themed, sort of fluffy scene. I just would say that your tournament level, your tournament play isn't as mature yet, but it will get there. I agree that, you know, and I wouldn't say that it was embarrassing for you guys, because you guys can see that we've been playing. I've not been playing the game for long in comparison to a lot of people, but been playing tournaments regularly, a lot more regularly than a lot of the guys over there. So I've got nothing to be smug about. I'm just lucky that I live here and have had that experience, you know, to gain that experience. I'm pretty sure if you took some of those US players and put them in the same mix, that they could quite easily have done it, and would be more used to things like magic and casting and what to resist and with how much, and what to be careful of, and certain heroic combats, and you know, just all those little kind of bits of the game. So I hope that helps. Thank you very much for your question, John McConnell. So we've got 2 more questions here. It's been a long speak friendly question, I think about an hour and a half. We've got Meet Milesy. He's put, hey, first time asking a question. I was wondering what's the best way to find out about tournaments and events in the UK, as I'd love to attend any and all if I can. We'll hopefully be coming to Stockport. Well, make sure you do, because remember, the first 48 who signed up, which have now, that quota has now been filled, will be getting a swag bag, which contains various bits and pieces. And if we manage to exceed 72, then I will make sure all attendees get a swag bag, and that is a promise. So I can only do that if we sign up, you know, a few more, obviously. So if you can make that, make sure you do. If you want to come to Stockport and you want to find out about other UK tournaments, you need to get yourself onto the Great British Hobbit League Facebook page. Great British Hobbit League Facebook page has a pinned post which has got details of all the upcoming tournaments. It does it for, I think, for the next 3, it publicises them, and you'll find in there are links to event pages for each of those events, so it gives you an idea of where they are, what's in the rules pack, and all those kind of things. And of course it gives you an opportunity to chat to all of the other people that have been involved in the tournaments in the UK. So I hope that helps meet Milesy, and hopefully we'll see you on the 3rd and 4th of October. If you've not already bought your ticket, you can do so by PayPaling ilovewargaming@gmail.com, although failing that, if you can't do that, try and PayPal fitness@bioticfit.com, and if you can't do that, then in the rules pack there are some bank details that you can transfer to. You've got a cheeky second question: can an Uruk-hai armed with pike still use a hand weapon instead? If so, where are they sticking the pike? Well, all models are assumed to have a hand weapon, but a pike doesn't give you any kind of negative bonus in combat, so you don't need to do that. If you mean can they special strike, well, it depends if they've got anything on them that you can see. You know, if they've got a little axe by their sides, which I don't think they do, then you can almost certainly say that they're piercing striking. This is when they're in base to base, by the way. So let's say if they've got a little dagger on them, which is more possible. So let's say an Uruk-hai with a pike has a dagger by their side. You can't feint with them from the 2nd or 3rd rank because you're using the pike as the weapon. But if they are in the front rank and someone is in base contact with them, you could choose to feint if they've got a dagger modelled on them. Of course, if there isn't anything modelled on them, then you can't do the special strike. So I hope that helps meet Milesy. Our final question of this week's Speak Friend and Question, our first post Nova Open Speak Friend and Question, is from Sean Shaw 100. It's about, hi guys, is there a way to make a fluffy Gondor army work, i.e. basic warriors and cavalry, not hundreds of guards of the Fountain Court? Cheers as always. Well, yes, I personally think that there is. Of course, J22 and myself, for doubles, we took a Birth of Rohan themed list which had Ael the Young with all of his sons of Ael, and then Kirian, Steward of Gondor, with a bunch of just warriors and Minas Tirith chaff, captains and all that kind of thing, Knight of the White Tower. And I really enjoyed seeing the Gondorians. I mean, I always used to love playing and Steve when he used to bring his fluffy Gondor armies and things, and seeing it on the battlefield was always really cool. I honestly think that there is a place for competitive Gondor army. Yes, they do struggle. There is a lack of magic defense. You know, if they come up against casters, their big heroes are going to get shut down and stuff. But, and it's something that we came across at Nova Open. There was a lad there from Denver called Brandon, lovely guy. All of us got to play him at some point or another, and voted him sort of our favourite player as such, because we'd all played him and he was a really nice guy. And he brought just like chaff, Gondor chaff. There was just loads of warriors and Minas Tirith and rangers in support, and there was some Fountain Court, and I think there might have been some Citadel Guard or not, and just the cheap heroes. And I think definitely, you know, the issue with that is that because there's just so much chaff, at 700 points for example, there's nothing really for your wizards to shut down. So they just, you know, they don't need to shut down Beragond, they don't need to shut down Damrod, so they become, you know, they're just there to blast and maybe do the odd command out and stuff like that. So it kind of can make your wizards a little bit redundant playing a force like that. It's a lot of high defense troops to chop through, and as such, you know, there's so much of it, it means it's going to be very, very good at a lot of the objective game. I mean, I think, I'm taking, I've made no secret of this, but next year I'm going to try and take some fluffy Gondor lists, and it is effectively going to be warriors and Minas Tirith, you know, being the front rank of most war bands, giving you your cheap defense 6 up front. You know, they're only fight 3, but the defense 6 are not going to go down really easy, backed up by various things, maxed out, and then whatever points level it is will determine what kind of thing that I bring along with them. And what I'm looking to do really is, you know, Denethor. Denethor is cheap, leading front rank Warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, rear rank Fountain Court Guard, because obviously Denethor, Fountain Court Guard, makes sense, but then that's it. Beregond, leading front rank Warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, rear rank Citadel Guard with bow and spear. So yeah, it makes them a bit more expensive having both, but then you've got your strength 3 shooting in there, which can be handy, and that fits quite well with Beregond because he's obviously part of the Citadel Guard. Damrod, leading 6 Warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, 6 Rangers with spear. So again, you've got your fight 4 behind, and all of a sudden, as a base of your army there, for very cheap, you've got 36 models with a defense 6 front rank, and with well-rounded amount of shooting. And then what you take on top of that is completely down to you. So you can, you know, I mean, I really like the idea of taking Gandalf the White and then having Pippin alongside Beregond. That's obviously very, very themey, especially from the books. That could work quite well. I like, you know, potentially, yes, it means you can put your Boromir in there, or at lower points game you can get Faramir in. I personally would go more towards the defence of Minas Tirith. I actually quite like the idea of allying in your fiefdoms there. So you get Imrahil in as your big hitter, really, as your big hero, and you bring him with a few of his Swan Knights with lances on the horse. To be sort of the hitting part of your force, because really the goal there, I personally, I think it could be, but I've never tried it, but the goal really with that amount of troops is, you know, remember this is an objectives game, so if you're playing at Reconnoiter you're going to have a lot of troops, so you know, against a lot of stuff you might outnumber them, and so you can get stuff off the board, and things that you can't, then you're going to have a reasonable chance at whittling them down, because what's going to outnumber you? Well, Lake Town might outnumber you, but you're stronger than Lake Town. Lake Town are going to need 6s to wound against you. Goblin Town, Goblins are going to outnumber you. Goblins probably would have the best shout at taking you down. You know, if you've got Black Shield, front rank and all that kind of stuff with a strength 4. But in a lot of objective games, I mean, you'll struggle against Isengard. I think Isengard's where you'll have the most problems, but that's the same for most Manish forces. So I honestly think that Gondor is pretty viable. Especially, I have to say, with the amount of elven armies that seem to be out there at the moment. There seems to be quite a lot of Rivendell Knights, there seems to be a emergence of Mirkwood Armadelves, a lot of strength 3 shooting, a lot of Mirkwood Rangers, a lot of strength 3 again, which means that defense 6 is once again important. So yeah, I think it could be viable. If you play the objectives game and you're smart, I think that Gondor could be pretty good. And I have to say that Brandon's chaffy Gondor force was very, very, very tough to break down, especially in scenarios like high ground, hold ground, reconnoiter. It would have been tough to beat at. Going to struggle a little bit more just that to the death, because, you know, but it's going to be it's a tough force to break. That's a tough force to break. But if you bring a good leader in it, then it's going to be tough to get their leader. And if you get a banner in it, it's going to be tough to get to the banner. So yeah, I think it's possible. And I'm looking to do it next year, so I'll let you know how that gets on. Anyway, I've stood here for far too long talking SBG, so I'm going to have a drink of water now and go and spend the rest of my day off with the lovely Jane. So I hope you guys enjoy Speak Friend and Question. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit hobby, likes on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and support Jamie on Patreon. And happy strategy battle gaming, guys.